On July 17, I left the States to go to Laos and Vietnam as missionaries to spread the goodness of Christ and His words to the country's people. But before the plane trip had been reserved, I had prepared and planned myself as to what we were going to do during our stay in the two countries. We were told that in Laos, we were to take our service to an orphanage in which a fellow missionary had been managing. Our service in Vietnam would be at a church in Vung Tau. This opportunity had been presented to me by my pastor by his suggestions and advice that his trip would be of great benefit to me and my spiritual journey as a Christian. I was reluctant to agree to my participation in something I had never done and was unfamiliar with. But after much thought and reflection, I concluded that I would be going on this trip. I was told that we would be joining another church as a congregation. I believed at first that this would be difficult to work with a group of strangers from a different church. Luckily, being fellow followers in Christ, we quickly became acquainted since our agenda and resolve were already aligned before we had met. It was important for me to learn and plan my missionary work since it was my first time as a missionary and the first time as a visitor to any of these countries. I was not alone as this was many of our first times going to a foreign country as well as a missionary. Our attention was mostly on the orphanage of Laos. We were informed that blatant preaching of the gospel would be unacceptable and restricted, so we were to embed the gospel in the form of song, dance, and crafts. We had worked for almost a month to learn the dances, programs, our classes, and fundraising to afford the cost of travel. Laos was our first destination that was not a layover in an airport, but upon arrival the group were showing signs of exhaustion as we had been traveling over 15 hours via plane, bus, car, and train. Also, the climate was draining and not what most of us had ever experienced. Arriving at Laos reminded us of the difficulties we will experience during our times here. The people did not speak the same language as us and we did not understand one another. We were also at risk of illness as we were foreign to the land. We were warned that our plans, no matter how thorough and detailed, would be disrupted by unforeseen events and impede our goals. Our service at the orphanage was planned to be 3 days in which we were to teach them song and dance of worship songs that we had prepared, visual performances of God's love and Jesus' sacrifice, and group activities such as crafts and games. It seemed like a lot to me at first, but I was not doing it alone, so I had the confidence not only in myself, but in my team. As expected, our planned programs did not unravel as any of us had expected. We also had to further censor and restrict many parts of our planned services as we had gotten feedback that they had taken issue with our expression of the gospel. We had come to realize that even with all our hard work, we were underprepared. I decided to have a passive supporting role in my group and I was told I should have a more active role. I had felt the anxieties of my team members and believed I had not done enough to aid and contribute. Especially in the absence of 2 of my group members, I tried to take charge of my group and believed that this would be best for everybody. I soon realized I was not communicating well with my team members and I had put myself before the group. Unfortunately, I had gotten the COVID during my stay in Laos and was not able to participate in Vietnam. During my time alone, I reflected on my actions and events in Laos. I concluded that I had failed to see broader and tried to fix the problems of the present without thinking about the results and effects it would have on the future. I had believed my ways would be best for others without asking for permission or advice from others. I had thought that I had the solution and with my abilities alone I would fix our problems. I realized that my well-intended efforts and my personal way of doing things made it difficult for others and myself to work together as it conflicted with our arrangements and schedules. I realized that in choosing me I was not considerate, or I was focused more on results than on loving others. Being patient and considerate of others was far more important. Being like Jesus was far more important. This trip as a missionary was an interesting experience for me. This was my first time as a missionary and working with people who I only familiarized for a few weeks. It was fulfilling to work with fellow workers of God and work together to spread joy and greatness of the gospel to the people of Laos and Vietnam. With this trip, I understand why missionaries are done and it is important. Even if my work was not up to my standards, we had managed to reach the peoples of Laos and Vietnam. Even with our short stay, the people that we had served gave us much thanks and gratitude. Our service had meaning and purpose to them, and we had indirectly shown them an important act of God. Spreading and showing love is not easy, but that difficulty is what makes our work much more worthwhile. It was what caused self-reflection as to my mistakes and how to properly work with my missionaries and show love and kinship. I realized that all our success at Laos and Vietnam was not because of our hard work and effort, but the power instilled to us by God and love that was given to us.